specially dedicated website, pandemicflu.gov, advising the citizenry in all states to stockpile 6 to 8 weeks' worth of food and water, like now-ish. But why? I wondered, with detectable palpitations of the heart. What's about to happen? A Google search suggested terrible things, vast amounts of suffering and death, rasping, blue-in-the-face plague along the lines of the great influenza of 1918. A brand new pandemic that would kill pretty much everyone in the prime of their lives, more or less shortly. It wasn't precisely clear when. In the winter of 2006, the virus was still busy trying to figure out how to mutate in order to infect humans more swiftly than birds. But then, well, that's it. You understand? Calamity. Therefore, proclaimed pandemicflu.gov, which I had stumbled across from a random link on the Drudge Report, you really, really need to stock cans of tuna and Evian water in the basement, because at the appointed time, the clerk at the 7-Eleven will drop dead, and no one will sell you your food. How do I and 40 million Americans put this? When you suffer from anxiety, which has been very aptly described as fear in search of a cause, you do not need official encouragement. Go away with your stockpile advisory, because here is what it made me do 14 years too early. Patricia, ventured my husband about a month later, having signed for a postal delivery at our door, are you all right? Why? I called down distractedly from my third-floor home office. Well, he said, coming upstairs, his even-tempered voice growing louder with each step. Last week, a box with 12 containers of freeze-dried vegetables arrived at the house from a company called Survival Acres. And I meant to ask you about it, but I forgot. And now you seem to have purchased a really big tin of powdered butter. He darkened the threshold of my office, displaying the newly delivered package. It says you need to add 27 cups of water. My dear husband eyed me thoughtfully, poised somewhere between bursting out laughing and giving me a hug. It is always thus. I catch him off guard. Ask anyone who suffers from what John Keats called wakeful anguish, and they will assure you that their affliction isn't visible to the naked eye. The chronically anxious aren't physically timid or cringing. We don't quake in our boots or whimper aloud as we board airplanes. In folklore and anecdote, the anxious have been conflated with the immature and emotionally uninhibited as nervous Nellies. But the perception is a prejudice. Our fears are private, arbitrary, idiosyncratic, and very often masked. Anxiety rages undetected in the mind, both secretive and wild. Friends and acquaintances, children, even lovers can be fooled. Who knew that Charles Darwin was struggling to suppress a rising sense of panic in his later years? Who glimpsed the dread felt by Alfred Lord Tennyson or by W.B. Yeats? Is a face-clutching terror evident in the bold joy of Aretha Franklin as she sings, or in the elegant play of David Beckham? Yet both contend all the time with a fraught sense of balancing on the cliff's edge. I know of one CEO who gets paralyzed with terror whenever he enters a tunnel, but I doubt his business associates have noticed this when they've driven together in a limo from LaGuardia beneath the East River and into Manhattan. Another accomplished professional of my acquaintance spends her downtime silently making contingency plans for the tornado she's certain will hit her house.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.